right, you guys, bear with us. We're going to get started in just a moment. Thank you guys for coming out to the show tonight. All right, let's get underway. Welcome. Just know what it is and you know how it is. I want to welcome you to tonight's podcast. Shout out to the form. And of course, my guest tonight is the lovely Miss Nicole Michelle. But before we get started, I'm going to lay some ground rules here. My space is not a red pill space. It's not a blue pill space. It's not a black pill space. Orange, pink, red, yellow, purple, orange, green, gray. Station in this channel is about productive enterprises for productive people. So if you have an issue with women, don't marriage. You have an issue with the institution of family, don't bring your ass over here. You have an issue, that's over here. If you have an issue in any way with prosperity or rules or order or balance, don't bring your ass over here. Okay, fair enough. And second of all, I will not allow my guests or anyone in my chat room to be disrespected or not. And I also will not allow. Excuse me. I will not allow for anyone in my chat room to be disrespectful. So I believe I have Miss. I got one of my moderators in here. If I have my moderators in here, stake these niggas through the heart, get them up out of here immediately, because I'm not gonna deal with no niggatry. I'm not going to deal with no fuckery. So if you guys come here for that, you can get the step in, as Martin used to say. So with that being said, I would also like to mention that I will be starting up a third channel. That channel rather, will be devoted to politics, the voice of the Black moderate. It is not a channel. The name of the channel is going to be called The Center. The channel is not devoted to left politics or right politics or progressive or conservative. It's dedicated to pragmatic issues, to the center, the moderate center, centrist politics. So as such, we don't cheerlead, cape, or flag wave for any particular party. We will be looking at pragmatic solutions and the best of both to determine answers to some of the most pressing problems in politics for Americans in general and for Black people specifically. And that will be my new channel, The Center, that's coming soon. Be on the lookout for that. Okay, so with that being said, again, my moderators, you have carte blanche. If these niggas come in here and they're disrespectful, stake them through the heart, get them up out of here. Okay? Now, with that being said, let us get underway. Now, one of the things that I've always been interested in, and one of the things that I was talking about, or that I've been talking about, of course, with the great Fat Mac from Mac City Limits podcast, my first home. Shout out to the Fat Mac. I don't know if he's in here tonight. Shout out to him. One thing that we always talked about initially, way back in 2010 and 11, before most of these new niggas even got to YouTube, was the idea of marriage being a business and the economics of marriage. And so one of the things that I wanted to discuss, one of the things that I want to talk about on this podcast is, what is the economics of marriage? How does it work? And so as a result, I went and got, our resident expert, YouTube's resident expert on securing the bag, which is, of course, the lovely Miss Nicole Michelle, and she will be joining in here momentarily. But one of the first things that I wanted to ascertain, because you got a lot of booger picking, backward brain, reprobate minded niggas on YouTube that express dysfunctionality because they failed in life and because they failed in love and because they failed in marriage. You have a lot of niggas that want to regress everything down to their level of niggardry, ratchetry, and dysfunctionality. And over here, we are anti niggardry over here. We are anti dysfunctionality over here. We are anti ratchetry over here as far as real life matters are concerned. So, one of the institutions that, of course, is crucial to any nation, one of the institutions is crucial to any community is marriage. My generation, which is Generation X, I was born in 1971. I'm the product of a two-parent household. My parents have been married for 56, going on 57 years. This November 5th, God willing, and the creek don't rise. I'm very proud of that fact. My father was a factory worker. My mother was a housewife. She was a homemaker and a home keeper. And there's nothing, anyone that has come up in that environment, there's nothing to be ashamed of. No shade at those of you in the chat room that grew up in single parent homes. No shade for you. I'm just telling you where we come from. And I'm telling you about life on our side of the track, so to speak. So you didn't have to tell me or convince me of the necessity of two-parent household. You didn't have to convince me why two-parent households generally, not in every instance, but generally, fare better off in relationships, or fare better off rather in the economy than single parent households. You didn't have to sell that to me. Uh, that was something that automatically that I was automatically aware of. That's something that no one had to explain that to me. That was no grand epiphany. So as we get into this subject of the economics of marriage, the economics of marriage is based upon, of course, it's based upon you marrying people that are worth marrying. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later, but not too much right now. But if you're talking about marriage, you hear most people say, well, marriage is a business. Marriage is a contract. It is. You hear people talk about marriage as a relationship. It is. Well, which one is it? Business or, somebody said I'm breaking up. Somebody said I'm breaking up. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, hold on. Hold on. What about now? Can you hear me now?
A lot better.
Damn it. Okay. Can you guys hear me now? Is that better? Is that better?
Yes, that's better.
If you can hear me, put a one in the chat room. If you can hear me, put a one in the chat room. Am I still borging, guys?
No, that was better. That's better. I hope everybody's doing okay. Let me know if you can hear me or not. But I just want to greet the audience while he's getting his audio together. We have a good show planned for you as always. Tony Maceo is always bringing that heat, and it's been a while since we started up. Um, I am going to get his Cash App information and PayPal information if he can hit me in the back chat with that, and I will post it until more competent moderators show up. I will get that posted in the chat so that you can bless the preacher tonight. I hope everybody's having a lovely afternoon. You should not be out and about. You should be in the house. Um, Okay, good. I'm glad you all hear me. But anyway, so as you all know, we do the crusade about marriage on my channel and things like that. And so there's a lot of speculation, a lot of discussion now. Just a few months ago, it was all save yourself, black man, and MGTOW and pump and dump and all of the other stuff. And so now we're circling back and talking about things that matter. And so, it's good to see brothers who want to talk about this. And so I have to, when Maceo extended the invitation, I definitely want to jump on this because it's good to see men supporting this conversation, and not just women talking about it. Because I can talk about marriage till I'm blue in the face, but if they don't see competent black men talking about marriage, then they kind of lose hope, especially if they weren't raised around marriage. So, Maceo, whenever you ready, just chime in. I'm just trying to fill the gap here till you get sound together. But everybody in the audience, this is going to go into his Patreon anyway. So, but while we're killing some time, everybody bless the chat. Let us know where you're from. Let us know what you've been doing on this beautiful. Well, it's beautiful here in the A. Just a few clouds in the sky. Let us know what you've been doing today and where you're from. I see Rain Woman is in the building. Ultimate Black Man Radio is in the building. You all need to go check out that channel. Miss Chantel McVoy, Miss Chicago herself, Devin Haley is in the building. Australia, Fer- Faraya, please let me know if that's right. Is from Australia. Aussie, welcome. New York in the building. Ash, Miss Na is from Ghana. I'm assuming. Gabe is hailing from Memphis, Tennessee. Third Ward Colombian from H Town. Uh, yes, Faraya is a supporter of the Inner Beauty TV. Thank you for showing up. Maria Reddy is from Savannah, Georgia, one of my favorite cities on the planet. Diamond G from Dallas, Texas, just left there, lovely city. Florida girl in the house. Let's see. Um, Barbershop Cassandra from Bronx, New York, from the Boogie Down. Um, let's see. Who else we got in the building? Yeah, so um Maceo is the other half of Max City Limits a radio. Check them out on YouTube, the Ohio Players as I like to call them. Miss V in the building. Let's see. How many people in here married? How many people in here trying to get married? Let's ask that question. Who's married? Who want to get married? Who says the heck with that? I'm just here for the convo. Let us know what you up to today. Let us know what's going on with you. Let us know. Everybody pretending to be married, let us know. Miss V says she's trying. Hey, I heard that. Ashley says she's trying to get married. I heard that. Fellas, pay attention, honey. Pay attention to the ladies. Said, don't look my way. Don't look my way. He said he going to get his drink and get in the corner and duck. Austin Black Red Radio said, I'm looking for a wife. I need one before I lose my. Uh oh. Uh oh. Uh oh. Miss Na is here. Oh, she's saying hi. Faraya says, I'm trying something is cooking. Hey, I like it. I like it. Third World Columbia says, I want to be married. Awesome. So we got one fella that's admitted he want to be married. Gabe said he wants to be married. So that's two. Okay, there he is. I'm going to shut up now.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Very much better.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. It's a little Borging on just a little bit, but yeah, we can
Hello.
hear you. Yes.
Can
Can
you
you
hear
hear?
me?
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. I can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me now?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Okay. I can hear you guys. I just want to make sure you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. Right? Somebody said they're going through a divorce. Sorry to hear that, Maria, but you're in the right place. So, I've been there, done that. So I hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me, Maceo? Okay, I hear you. Are you able to hear me?
All right. Can you guys hear me now?
I can hear you. Are you able to hear me?
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hello. 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 Can you hear me? All right. Miss Nicole, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm having a hell of a time over here. This is crazy. All right. All right. Here we go. Again, we've had a number of issues of oh, I guess Nicole is gone. I guess it's my turn now. All right. One thing again I wanted to talk about was the union. Miss Nicole dropped off. She'll be back. Oh, here she is. Hold on. Let me add her in. Hold on. We're gonna get this thing right in just a minute. All right. Okay. Now, again, hopefully you guys hear me now. When we talk about, marriage, one of the things that we've talked about, one of the things you guys have heard Miss Nicole talk about is, uh, you know, marrying before you carry. And of course, that's self-explanatory, and we shouldn't need to go over that. But one of the ways I wanted to talk about was, or one of the things I wanted to talk about, of course, was the very union of marriage and the idea of it being a contract. What it's good for, what its benefits, what are its damages if it doesn't work, what are the rewards if it does. Now, I'm sure you guys know that marriage is the backbone of institution and family life. I don't have to tell you that. I don't tell you that families, two-parent families, the children fare far better as far as educational prospects, as far as economic prospects, as far as college education, as opposed to single parent homes generally. That's not the rule in every case. Of course, there are no absolutes, but people generally tend to fare better in two-parent homes than not. So, what are some of the benefits here? One of the main benefits when it comes to marriage is the idea of being able to build wealth. Being able to build wealth. Now, has is anyone in here familiar with the HBO TV show, The Game of Thrones? Is anyone in here familiar with the Game of Thrones, the TV show, The Game of Thrones? If you're familiar with that show, put a one in the chat room. Can you guys hear me? Miss Nicole, can you hear me? Miss Nicole, can you hear me? Hello. I don't know if this thing is running slow or what. But anyway, one of the main one of the main plot devices, one of the main plot devices in that movie, or one of the main plot devices in that series, was that there was a problem they had a bastardy problem. And because they had that bastardy problem, and because there were there was all this reckless sex and all this, reckless fucking, or you complicated rather, the who would ascend to the throne. If you guys remember that series, those of you that watched that series, there were four houses there that were important. There was the house of Baratheon. There was the house of what's the name? Lannisters, the Starks, and the Dragon Clan. I forget their name. Oh, the Targaryens. The Targaryens. And so one of the problems right off the bat was you had Robert Baratheon, who was like really reckless with dick, and he was just screwing women all over the place. Couldn't keep his dick in his pants to save his life, and he complicated who actually was going to uh, King's Landing, who was going to rule Westeros and the Seven Kingdoms. So one of the things that marriage was an immediate benefit for was the idea of being able to continue your family name, being able to create a legacy, being able to have and maintain a legacy. And if you're talking about legacies, one of the things you're talking about, or the thing you're talking about, is wealth building. So, in the first instance, the first benefit of marriage is of course wealth building. Now, the average American household in the country, or the average household income, is about $89,930, give or take a penny. The average income of married people filing jointly was $117,795. Okay, that's for married couples that are filing jointly. For those that are filing separately, it was $64,819. For head of household, $35,876. And for widows or widowers, $57,500. Is the IRS statistics of income based on a 2014 census or study of this. You also have to keep in mind that these numbers are also affected by geography. In other words, where you live in the country. Okay. Quite honestly, in some of these places, if you live in New York City, of course, the cost of living is going to be more expensive. So this money won't go as far, but places down south and out on the Midwest, or toward the Midwest, or toward the Southeast, obviously that's going to be different. So of marriage. Married families tend to have higher incomes than never married men or women. Married families with only one income, those incomes, even with the one income, the median income is still greater than that of adults that have never been married. Okay. Married couples are also likely to own their own homes and have greater asset accumulation than households headed by single families. Now, the source of this information I've included in the links in my description section. So you guys can go down to the description section and check out the links for yourself and read over the information. But one of the main protections, or one of the main benefits of marriage, has been a shield, for lack of a better word, a shield against poverty. Why? Because married couples tend to save more money than non-married couples. Married couples tend to work towards something called home ownership. Married couples tend to create, or tend to institute, or tend to preserve or grow assets that appreciate, or appreciable assets. What do I mean when I say appreciable assets? What do I mean when I say appreciable assets? Let's start at the beginning. Married couples tend to own or purchase their own homes. How important is home ownership in terms of wealth? Now, there was a gentleman in here earlier who was going around and around and said marriage should be illegal. Everybody has a right to say that, and I get your perspective. But if you see this nigga in my chat room, I want him out of here. Stake him through the heart. I'm sorry. I'm Stalin in this motherfucker. You do not get to come over here on a channel where we are promoting functionality and promote dysfunctionality. I'm truly sorry. You are dishappy. You are unhappy. Excuse me. You are dissatisfied and unhappy with the institution. That's not my struggle. So if you're coming in here with that today, uh, Get the stepping. Get the stepping. Mods, get him up out of here. Miss Haley, get him up out of here. Do not let him chill in this spot with that, because again, this is not a red pill spot. Now, back to our regularly scheduled program. Home ownership. What is the importance of home ownership? What is the importance of home ownership? Well, home ownership is a bastion of wealth. If you're talking about home ownership as a bastion of wealth, well, why is it a bastion of wealth, Macy? Home ownership is a bastion of wealth because as you build up equity in your home, ordinarily speaking, of course, unless you live in a really bad neighborhood or a really poor neighborhood, homes that are paid for in suburban communities or even in working class community where the property appreciates, you tend to develop this little thing called equity. You tend to develop this little thing called equity. And when you develop equity in your home, you now have an asset by which you can borrow against. That equity becomes liquid capital because now you can borrow against that to refinance the home. You can borrow against that money to pay off debts. You can borrow that money and use that money. What a lot of couples will do, they will borrow against the equity in their homes and invest in the stock market. They will borrow against their homes and they'll buy CDs or they'll buy annuities or they'll buy some type of financial product that will come to maturity when they get older or when they reach retirement age. So that's one of the things that marriage is good for. That is one of the very best things that marriage is good for, is because it allows you to accumulate and appreciate assets. Now, I know it's some dumb Negro that's in my chat room. No, you can do that by yourself. Well, studies have shown that married people tend to work toward and are more cognizant and conscious of long term investment than single people. Those are just facts. I'm not here to wrestle with your feelings about marriage. Facts can change feelings, but feelings do not change facts, as they say. So, moving right along, another asset that you tend to get from marriage or that's created by marriage is the concept of insurance. Insurance policies are nothing short of liquid assets that you can use in order to, or that you can borrow against, that you can convert into liquid capital again for the purposes of investment. This is how the middle class, the white middle class, was able to generate wealth when some of the sailors would come home from World War II or come home from Korea, or come home from Vietnam. They had a lot of other financial assistance in the terms of the GI Bill, as well as being able to get low interest and low cost mortgages. These assets, as far as life insurance, as far as home insurance, as far as and in some instances at that time until they changed the policy. Health insurance was a means by which people could borrow, not health insurance, I'm sorry, scratch that. Home insurance, casualty insurance. These policies became a way to ensure generational wealth from one place to the next. Now, what is a marriage? Some people said, as I started off earlier before my mic started breaking up, some people said that marriage was a contract. Some people say that marriage is a business. Some people say that marriage is a relationship. Well, the truth is that it's all those things. Marriage is a contract, marriage is a business, and marriage is a relationship. Again, it is based on my observation of being the product of a two-parent home of a 56 going on 57-year marriage. So I have a little confidence in what I'm saying here. Now, if we look at, okay, how does marriage tend to work financially? Okay, if you're going to accumulate assets, if you're going to accumulate assets, one of the things that you have to do is save and invest. You would think, you would say, well, that's common sense. That's obvious, Maceo. Everyone knows you have to save and invest. Well, here is the importance of saving and investing. Saving and investing, that results in very lucrative pensions. That results in being able to enjoy yourself. That enables you to be able to do some of the things you want to do without being pressed by money concerns, concerns for debt, concerns for expenses, so forth and the like. Okay. Okay. So, what are some of the things that are associated with marriage? So, let's get into it. Let's really get into it now that you guys can hear me. And I hope you can hear me. Miss Nicole had to drop down because I believe she said it was better if I came up here by myself. I'm in the middle of a rainstorm here, guys, so please be patient with me. We had a rough start from the beginning, but here we go. Initially, of course, when you get married, as I said before, there's this little thing called home ownership. Okay. Home ownership, you go get a mortgage, you go apply for a mortgage loan, you get approved. Now, for those people like myself that are veterans, we have access to VHA, that's Veteran Housing Authority loans at low interest rates, that allows us to get reasonable mortgages, reasonable paying mortgages, where the mortgages and the taxes, or the taxes and the mortgages, are not so disparate from each other, to where you can actually create wealth inside of your investment, which is a home. Okay. Of course, again, the things you have to concern yourself with: the uh, the day-to-day experience of what bills, and I'm talking about practical bills. I'm talking about practical bills. Let's see. I'm talking about lights. I'm talking about gas. I'm talking about water. I'm talking about transportation experience. I'm talking about uh, insurance, life insurance, health insurance, home insurance. All of these things are expenses to which all these things normally are expenses or costs that incur inside of a marriage. Now, what are the things that you receive as a result of this? I see we got savings minus debt is in the house. Mr. Linnell Young is in the house. Okay. So I did a podcast with him. It's on my channel. You guys go back and catch that. Now, of course, you don't want to be upside down in debt. Let me see if I got my lesson correct from Mr. Young. Mr. Young says your true income is a very simple mathematic formula. It is your assets minus your expenses or your debt. What's left over is your actual income. So, of course, okay, you don't want to be upside down in debt. That goes without saying. But this goes to the very important principle that you have to be selective in who you choose to enter that contract with. Now, whether you are concerned about marriage, pro marriage or not, if you're anti-marriage, I'm asking you to put that on hold, because I'm not here to debate that today. You go to another channel and talk about that. I'm talking about family and institution building. So if you're talking about marriage, if you're talking about marriage, as long as your debt is manageable, as long as your debts does not exceed your assets, you are fine. Did I get that right, Mr. Young? I think I did. I think I understood your formula. But as long as your debts do not strip your income, you're fine. So this is the importance of being a competent man. This is the importance of being with a good woman, a decent woman, someone that has morals, values, and integrity. Being able to accumulate assets, being able to save and invest. This is the very reason why you do not want a pig pen ass nigga. This is the reason why you do not marry a bathtub ring ratchet. This is the reason why you're careful, and this is the reason why you vet. If your income is going to be based on your job, which it is, all income is based upon whatever your job is. This goes back to back in the day. This has a root in the practice of you going back and sitting in front of a woman's husband or a woman's father or the man's husband or father so that they could check you out because the parents were a part of the vetting process. The parents were the ones to determine whether or not this person had the requisite personality, character, and integrity to stay in a marriage. To stay in a marriage. Okay? So the being able to save and invest was related to what kind of partner you decide to enter into the contract with. That was the importance of not marrying thoughts. That was the importance of not marrying bum ass niggas with no income. That was the importance of choosing a life partner because marriage was a lifetime investment, not just an emotional investment, not just a psychological investment, but a real hardcore financial investment. This is why you don't get swooned or you don't get carried away by how a nigga looks or how a female looks. Because what you tend to see in life is that these so and I'm not knocking anybody that's attractive. That's not my point here. What I'm saying here is a greater truth. Eights, nines, and tens belong to the game. Shout out to Donovan Sharp. Eights, nines, and tens belong to the game. Eights, nines, and tens belong to the game. It's the four through sevens that make good marriage material. It's the four through sevens that make good life partners. Now, of course, nothing in life is guaranteed. Nothing in life is you don't have any absolute guarantee. The only guarantee, the only payment or guarantee in life is death. That's the only guarantee you get. But with the exception of that, you have to do the best you can with what you got. That's why it benefits you to pick the person who had some type of character, to pick the dude who would get up and go to work every day, to pick the dude who knew how to save and invest, pick the dude who knew how to save and invest, pick the dude that was concerned about participating in civic politics in the community. Pick the guy that was interested and responsible in paying bills on time. Pick the guy who had a track record of responsibility based upon whatever W's he had in his corner in his leisure life or in his professional life. That was why you did all these things. That was the purpose of doing all these things. It's the reason why you do all these things. Okay? So if we have all these investments in terms of, and I know Mr. Young is in the house, and I know he probably gonna try to take me to the woodshed, but we'll do that another time on your channel, Doc. But anyway, your home. Let's talk about the investments here. Again, your home, your insurance policies. These are things that pay off in the event that something happens to you. Okay. Your home, your insurance policies, your investments, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, CDs, and the like. I think my man Frank from the Man Cave, you from the Man Cave was in here. He talked about IRAs, Roth and regular IRAs. All these things are determined or supposed to actually give you a cushion. All these things, the purpose of these things is to give you a cushion for later on in life. That's what they're there for. Now, let's get to the investment of children. Now, I know some of you see, I know how some of us are. We got children all out of wedlock. I know what it is. We got children all out of wedlock. You ain't got a lot of Maceo. You can keep it real over here. We got children out of wedlock. We come from homes that are not two-parent homes. We come from predominantly working class, not middle income communities, as is commonly being reported. We come from working class communities. So that money tends to be a little difficult for us on the front end. But we got to make sure We usually get it on the back end. That's if we're frugal. But the thing is that what were children? Some said what children were an extra labor force. Children were an investment. Children are investment. How can children be an investment when they're such an expense? I believe the last time I checked, which was about 10 or 15 years ago, and it's probably more now, the average cost to raise a child was about a little over $100,000. Well, how could that child be an investment if he's a debt or an expense or a liability? Here's how. Because you raise a well-adjusted human being that is a productive member of society. When you get old, now that individual is not only worthy to receive whatever assets you pass down at the point of your death, that child now comes back and he contributes toward the financial kitty of the family. Now, I know some people are going to say, look, your child shouldn't be your income stream. If your child is your income stream, you're wrong. You've done something wrong if your child is your income stream. But the fact of the matter is this: most children who are raised in even middle class suburban families, after they attain some degree of financial independence or success, they do tend to chip in as far as end of life care and health care, elderly health care. I forget the name of it, but health care for elderly people and end of life care for their parents, grandparents. It also reduces end of life care because back then, I don't know about now, but back then, your extended family tended to live with you. Your extended family tended to uh, 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 be a part, an active member of your family in the later years or the winter years of their life. So the children were there in terms of them paying off as an asset in terms of wealth preservation, in terms of wealth accumulation, and it was a way to ensure the constant transition of wealth from one generation to the next. That was the purpose of children. And again, that's the reason why you don't go get a pig peeing ass nigga. You don't go get a bathtub ring around the collar bitch. You don't. That was the purpose of picking a quality person. That was the purpose of you understanding that a 8, 9, and 10 was not worth it to be in a marriage by and large. But your marriages were where the fours and seven is. Maceo, are you talking about just women? No, I'm not talking about women. I'm talking about men too. You rated men too. So it wasn't about, you didn't go out there and find, and I'm just using his name here. You don't go out there and find a Derek Jackson generally. A Derek Jackson generally. Those dudes generally don't tend to make good husbands. Why? Because they tend to have only one trick. And we all know what that trick is now, don't we, ladies? We understand what function Derek Jackson performs in your life. But the most important lesson was you don't get pregnant by that guy. You don't get pregnant by that guy. June Cleaver didn't get pregnant by Eddie Haskell. She got pregnant by Ward Cleaver. Why? Because Ward Cleaver was going to be responsible. Ward Cleaver was going to be a father. And if a man assumes the responsibility of marriage and assumes the responsibility of a family, then he's going to assume the responsibility for the protection, maintenance, development, growth, and prosperity of a family. This is why you don't get pregnant by the pig peeing ass niggas. And this is why you don't knock up the run of the mill ratchets. This is the whole purpose. So you can't begin to discuss a matriarchy without understanding the purpose of children. until you sit down and look at this reality and look at how it works in the real world. If you guys will go and look at Bill Gates' wife, Bill Gates' wife is not an 8, 9, or 10. Neither is T-Bone Pickens' wife. Neither is Warren Buffett's wife. So you see that these Negroes that are sitting up here talking about 8, 9s, and 10s, these niggas that are sitting up here talking about 8s, 9s, and 10s, these are niggas that are broke. There's no other way to say it. These are broke niggas that claim to know about money, but don't really know about money, and think that because they have money, that it makes you wealthy. Now, what did I just say? Does having money makes you wealthy? Having just merely having money doesn't make you wealthy. You have to know how to keep what you have, and you have to know how to grow and accumulate what's there. Again, according to my man Savings Minus Debt, Mr. Linnell Young, Mr. Linnell J. Young, that is here in the house tonight, he said savings minus debt equals your real life income. A very simple formula. I agree with the man. Okay. So let's talk about, because I know some people are saying, I had a guy in here early that was talking about, well, Maceo, marriage should be illegal. Marriage should be illegal. Well, without marriages, you don't have communities. You don't have communities. Without marriages, you don't have scratch that, scratch that. Without marriage, you don't have prosperous communities. Without marriage, you don't have viable, productive communities. You will have communities. You know the kind of community you will have? You will have the black community. Without marriage and without families, you have this little thing called the black community. And that's not working out so well for us right now. Now, is it? Okay. So a lot of dudes are going to sit up here and say, well, Maceo, these women take everything during divorce. Let me get into that. These women take everything during divorce, and the courts are slighted in their favor. And there's a very good reason for that. There's a very good reason for that. And now I'm going to employ a little bit of legal reasoning or a bit of legalese, well, not legalese, but a little bit of the uh, divorce law or family law uh, 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 terminology into this discussion, if you will. If marriage is a contract, when you marry someone, when you agree to marry someone, that is a contract that is recognized by the state. I ain't talking about these dusty ass hotep marriages. I ain't talking about these dusty ass cohabitation arrangements where they lay up in each other and just screw each other. And okay, you go your way, I go mine. East is east, west is west. Never the twain shall meet. Don't let me see it. Do what you want to do, but just don't let me see it. I'm not talking about those marriages. I'm not talking about those marriages where you just do what you want to with no responsibility. That is not what I'm talking about. Okay? So let me be clear about that. So, how does this work? Real time. How does this work? Guys, if you are going to get married, guys as well as ladies, if you are going to get married, this is how this game works. Okay? You have to approach the situation as though you are adults. Okay? You have to approach the situation as though you are adults. Okay? You have to look at it like it's an insurance policy. Okay? Insurance is purchased just in case. What if this shit don't work? Well, if this doesn't work, here's what we do. Now, I hear a lot of people running around here talking about prenups, but let me tell y'all something. Prenups is old game. Okay? There are so many ways to invalidate a prenup. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have one because a prenup is certainly better than nothing. But prenup is old game. They found how to break prenups back when I was first in law school back in 2002. 2002, 2003, they found out how to break prenups. So if there's going to be a parting of the ways, one of the first tools that you use to protect your wealth is something called a separation agreement. What is a separation agreement? A separation agreement is where two consenting adults sit down and said, well, we didn't make it. We tried, we didn't make it. We have irreconcilable differences, whatever the case may be. Now, even though most states have what's called not no fault marriages, there are still damages if you break that contract of marriages. There are still damages that you pay if you rupture that contract. Also, if she ruptures that contract, you say, well, that's not fair. Okay, well, it's not fair, but I'm going to explain it to you. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I understand why they have it in there. So you sit down and you draw up this separation agreement. The separation agreement determines what the property division is going to be. It determines who's going to be responsible for what bills. It determines who's going to get what insurance policies, what sector, or what particular insurance policy. Are they going to get the proceeds from the life insurance? Do you have to carry life insurance? Do you have to carry medical or health insurance on this person up until the time of their death? Are there children that you want? Are there children involved in this? Are who's going to get those children? How much child support is going to be determined that you're going to have to make available for those children? How much you're going to have to pay for those children? All of these things are determined or can be determined through separation agreements. If you do this through separation agreements, if you do this through separation agreements, what happens is that now the courts don't have to do this. If the courts don't have to step in and determine how much you're going to pay for children. The courts don't have to step in and determine the split of any insurance policies. The courts don't have to step in and figure out who's going to pay what on the mortgage, who's going to pay how much on the mortgage, and so forth. If these things are already written out, what the court will do, as long as they are within the statutes, within the property division statutes, they'll simply enter your separation agreement in as the order of the court. Whatever the terms are of that separation agreement, you get, she gets, and you go your separate ways. That's the more mature way of handling. Okay. Now, the second instrument, of protecting your wealth, the second instrument of protecting your wealth, the second instrument is called a trust. A trust is usually irrevocable. What that means is it can't be wiped out. It can't be wiped out by anybody but its maker. The rich and the wealthy of this society, while y'all are complaining about divorce settlements, again, that lets you further know what kind of niggas you dealing with when they start screaming about divorce. Rich people don't concern themselves with property division. Wealthy people don't concern themselves with property division. Wealthy men don't concern themselves with property division for the very simple reason that wealthy men are primarily using one very important strategy for wealth protection in a divorce. The women can use these things too, so it's not gender specific. It's this thing called a trust. You can use a trust to protect your assets before and during a marriage. I recommend you create your trust before marriage. But if you don't, trust can still be used during the marriage because a trust is a legal entity. It is a third entity. If it is an irrevocable trust, the courts cannot break in and take that money to pay a damn divorce settlement. You get to keep your paper. Ladies, you can use a trust too. We covered this on Miss Nicole Michelle's channel. I think it was back in either April, March, or April where we had this discussion. Go tune in over there. I think it's in her Patreon. Go over there and check out that discussion. But trusts are very important instruments as far as wealth protection is concerned. The wealthy have been using trusts for years to protect their assets for divorce. Now, what is the reason? What is the reason why? Why, Maceo, why when these women go to court, they seem to clean up? Why is it that why is it that the court just gives them everything? There was an old blues singer by the name of Marvin Cease. He made this song called, well, he's famous for making Jody and Candy Liquor. I assume some of the ladies in my age demographic know or remember that song. But Marvin Cease had a song that says "The bitch gets it all." The late uh, Johnny Taylor, the late Johnny Taylor, had a song called "It's Cheaper to Keep Her," and they wasn't lying about that. It is cheaper to keep her. But anyway, why is it cheaper to keep her? Why do the courts tend to run these men through the ringer when it comes to divorce? Why do they intend? Why do so many? Why are so many of these guys like this guy that was here earlier in my chat room talking about marriage is the devil and marriage is evil and it shouldn't be legal? I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why they do that to you. Because again, marriage is a contract. And if that contract is breached, there are damages under that contract. There are damages under that contract. There are damages if you breach that contract. Okay? What are those damages? Those damages are alimony, those damages are child support, those damages are financial maintenance, those damages are the upkeep and maintenance of the home life of the child and or the wife. Well, how does that work? How does that work and why do they do that? Look, you have to think like this. If you've been in a home, if a woman has been in a home with a man for 15 or 20 years, right? In a marriage for 15 or 20 years, and that woman's income has been substantially less than the man who is the head of household, who has been earning the majority of the marital income. And if that separation occurs and that woman is without that income, now she has to go back on the public dole. So what the courts are saying is you don't get to buy the ticket, ride the ride, and then come back to the cashier and you want your fare back. That's what the courts are saying. You don't get to get on, buy a ticket, take the ride, and then after you done rolled the damn horse, after you done rolled the merry-go-round into the motherfucking dirt, now you want to come back and get your money back. It does not work that way, ladies and gentlemen. Because what they're essentially saying is this: if you sat here and taking care of this woman for 15 to 20 years, now all of a sudden, what you want to do is you want to take her off your dime and put her on the public dime. You want to put her on the public dole. So, in other words, if she had health care when she was with you in the form of medical insurance, if she had a 401k, had life insurance when she was with you. She had a roof over her head when she was with you. She had three squares when she was with you. To be a functional human being in society without posing a liability or an expense to society, you don't get after you've taken 10 or 15 or 20 years from this woman, giving her two or three kids, and then think that her and all of your children are going to be taken care of by somebody else. You can have children and then ride off into the sunset and not take care of your children and think that someone else is going to take care of your responsibility. Exactly how the courts see it. The courts have this term, and this is why they will also go into the pockets or dig into play stepdaddy or come in and put himself in the role of a father. The court has this doctrine called loco parentis. It means and assume the responsibility of the woman and the child. You assume the responsibility for the debt of the woman and child. Do what the fuck you want to, and then in the end, you want your fare back. You want 20 years of your fare back after you've already accumulated the benefit. Then give her the money. Let's completely monetize this. How much does it cost you to wash your clothes? How much do you be your little private slut? How much does it? How much does all of that cost for 20 years? Job, in case you didn't know. Being at home, I ain't talking about the search for tomorrow, or that's an old soap opera. Excuse me, about these ratchets that lay up all day on the system and don't do anything but collect homemakers. That is a cost, economic. So if you want to be petty and take back your money, well, okay. How much does she charge you for 20 years of she charge you for all the years of home maintenance and raising your children? You supposed to just get that for free now just because you decide you want to leave? No, no, you're not putting that woman and that child back on the court's dime simply because you decided you don't want to be married no more. That's not how it happens. So the money that you pay in that divorce settlement, that's called damages. The court looks at that as damages. That's damages for the breach of the contract. That's part of the cost in being married. So when you understand that, you say what Johnny Taylor says is cheaper to keep her. Now all of a sudden you ain't running to get a divorce. Now all of a sudden you want to work it out. Now all of a sudden, the grass ain't greener on the other side. Now all of a sudden you're not so quick to want to go take care of another bitch and her children. You will slow down now because you will consider the cost. Because one of the ways you control people in society is through rewarding acceptable behavior and punishing unacceptable behavior. And the best way to do that is by making someone pay or rewarding them with some type of financial benefit. Now, what is the proof when I say that? What is your rationale in saying that? Now, in one of the links that I have in the section, is an article that they took from the Census Bureau from the current, I think it's current population survey of 2018. Here's what the article says, and I quote: Despite economic hardships, almost one third of married Americans who experience some kind of financial stress agree that the strain has led to greater personal commitment to their marriage. Likewise, of those couples who considered divorce prior to the downturn, 38% say they have postponed or abandoned those plans as a result of the recession. Translation, translation. If I step out this door and decide to get married with what's coming with the recession, I'm going to be ass out. That's what that means. I'm likely to be homeless. That's what that means. I don't have any way to recover that income that I lose in a divorce settlement. So, you know what? In the words of Johnny Taylor, is cheaper to keep her. The article goes on to say that while the study survey did not explicitly ask why married couples are choosing to work harder on maintaining and saving their marriage, even in the face of financial hardship, social science demonstrates that many appealing economic benefits of marriage to both individuals and societies. There are many economic benefits to both individuals and societies. Okay? So, what are those benefits? What are those benefits? Those benefits are what I talked about earlier. Those benefits are those life insurance policies, which can be liquidated. Those benefits are the equity in your home, which can be used to refinance and pay off debt or to invest assets. That debt now becomes an asset because it is an investment, or can potentially become an asset because it's an investment. Okay? So these are the benefits. So in your senior year, let's get real now. Now that we've talked about all of the upfront, uh, benefits that you get in terms of being, let's talk about the social benefits. There is study after study that proves that married men live longer than single men. Study after study. You guys can Google that. I mean, just go through it and look at it. Married men tend to live longer than single men. Okay? Second issue. In the event that someone falls ill, now married couples have alternatives to hospice care. Married couples have alternative to end of life hospice care. I know this because I've seen it personally. I'm going to give you guys a little personal example right from out of my life. In 2013, my mother was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. There was a bad valve on her heart that needed to be changed. Okay. Now, I don't need to tell you what would happen if my dad had not been there. We all know that would have ended very, very, very bad for her. But because there was someone there with an income and he had this little thing called health insurance, she was able to go into the hospital, get the operation that she needed, and not spend her last days somewhere in a cold old folks home or a cold hospice care facility. 2 years later, there was another valve on her heart that needed repair. They went in through her neck and repaired the valve through her neck. And again, she didn't have to worry about how that was going to be paid for. She didn't have to worry about who was going to take care of her. She didn't have to worry about any of that, anything like that. Okay, she didn't have to worry about who was going to look after her after she had gotten ill. So it goes from bad to worse. Okay, my mother also suffered from or suffers from multiple myeloma. So here you have a heart ailment, multiple myeloma. That's cancer, in case you don't know. That's bone cancer. Okay, as well as various respiratory disabilities and illnesses. Who was right there? Who was right there for the last 10 years? My dad was there for the last 10 years. Who was there nursing her through that? My dad was there nursing her through that. So, does it take a rocket scientist for me to explain to y'all the benefits, the social benefits, the emotional and psychological benefits from marriage? I mean, do you need do you need me to draw this out on a board for you to understand what I'm saying here? Now, let's go in the other direction. My father fell ill with stage 2 pancreatic cancer. God willing, they caught it while it was in stage 2. He had an operation and he has since recovered and has made a full recovery, though not without some consequences or lingering effects as a result of the surgery. But he's about 98, 97, 98% healthy. He ain't missed a lick. The fact that he had the responsibility of taking care of my mother propelled him to get well, propelled him to get healthy again, propelled him to want to live. Can you quantify something like that? No, you can't quantify something like that. No, you can't put a dollar value on your life. But it was that motivation in knowing that he had to take care of his wife that motivated him to say, I have to get healthy. That motivated him in saying, I have to get through this. My father survived 2 bouts with cancer, prostate cancer and pancreatic cancer, and he beat them both. And he beat them both for the same reason that he got up and went to work for 12 to 16 hours for 30 years. You know why? Because he had a family to take care of, ladies and gentlemen. He had a family to take care of. Now, some people would call that some of the unenlightened, reprobate, booger picking ass niggas among you. If you listen to a lot of these losers that's living off bitches on YouTube, they'll sit here and call that slavery. They'll sit here and call that blue pill simping and all that stupid shit. But I call that masculinity. And that goes to show you that you should probably not be listening to some of these niggas on YouTube when they sitting here telling you about relationships, when they sitting here telling you about women. That's probably a good indication that the niggas you're listening to are probably borderline socially retarded. That's probably an indication that these niggas are psychopaths and sycophants, and they don't deserve the privilege of your attention span. I am thoroughly convinced that had it not been for the other one, both of them would have been dead. But here they are. Here they are, 78 years later. Here they are over 7 decades later, celebrating 57 years of marriage. My father is in his elderly years. His income outweighs his debt. Anything he wants, he can go get it and pay for it in cash. He ain't pressed about how much it costs. Now, of course, he's not financially reckless. He is a master money manager when it comes to debt. As a matter of fact, he can teach uh, his son a thing or two when it comes to debt. Anything, his credit is immaculate. He can go anywhere he pleases and get any damn thing he wants for little or nothing. And he's living out the rest of his years with a quiet enjoyment, taking care of my mother. So the fact of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not only a client, I'm the president. Now, Maceo, that don't square too well because last time you were up here talking about 75. What does that mean when you were talking about 75? Very simple. That was talking about the hose. I meant the hose when I was talking about 75. That was the ratchet. That was the bathtub ring bitches. Those are the ones that get the 75. Why was I talking about 75? Why were you talking about 75? Why were you talking about 75? Because of the simple fact that I knew that a lot of working class guys were not going to sign out. Not a lot of working class guys and middle income guys and others weren't going to sign up to be stepdaddies in instant families where you add nigger and stir. A lot of guys were not down with that arrangement. And it spoke to the level of dysfunction in our community because we have forgot the basic laws of human mating. I could go deeper into this, but I'll just leave you with this. They say among black people, here's the joke: white people mate from the neck up. Black people mate from the navel down. That's the saying in our communities that white people mate from the neck up. Black people mate from the neck down. Now make of that what you will. Say about that what you will. But that's the saying. So understanding that, you began to see why we got so much ratchet shit. You began to see why there's so much poverty. You began to see why there's so much backward, primitive, uh, Planet of the Apes niggas in the black community. You began to see why everything is off the chain. You began to see why we can't have shit nights. You began to see the result of what happens when in a community. In a community where there is a proliferation of single family households. You begin to understand the prison, the school to prison pipeline. You begin to understand exactly what that is and what kind of role that plays. You begin to understand exactly why you shouldn't listen to Hotep niggas. You should never listen to a Hotep nigga. And I rarely use absolutes, but when it comes to Hotep niggas, I mean you should never listen to a Hotep nigga about substantive shit in life. Never, never. So all of these diatribes and all of these bromides against marriage and all of these bromides against healthy relationships, it actually serves to keep the black community in a state of primitivity, in a state of backwardness, in a state of degeneration. It serves the hookup culture. And the hookup culture, while it may be gratifying in terms of short-term pleasure, it leads to long-term disaster. So back in Mac City, when we said that, uh, back then we said that tricking was for entertainment purposes only. This is what we were talking about. It is for entertainment purposes only. Entertainment purposes only. You don't run a community around tricking. You don't run a life. You don't run a life around that. You don't run a family around that. So when I said I got 75, it was an indictment of the present state of affairs in the black community. That's all it was. That's all it was about. We never meant, we never meant that you would do that long term. We never meant to have a cavalcade of bitches, bathtub, ring around the bathtub bitches running in and out of your life until you're 85. Because if it's one thing that they don't tell you, see, a lot of these guys, a lot of these so-called relationship and game advisors, they have really fucked the game up. And I'll tell you why they fucked the game up. They fucked the game up because they don't, and I'm talking to the so-called non-select guys. What they've done to y'all, they fucked your mind up by trying to sell you their illusional greatness. They're trying to sell you this idea that they're the ultimate player. But let me tell you something. There's no such thing as free sex. There's no such thing as free pussy. There are consequences to every action. There are consequences to every action you do on this earth. See, what they don't tell you is, and this is for the majority of them, it's not for all of them, but for the majority of them. They'll go through life. First of all, the idea that before I get there, the idea that they don't pay for women is bullshit. See, what they don't tell y'all is they only pay for the bitches that they like. That's what they don't tell you. They don't tell you that they will cash out for the bitches that they like. And what they also don't tell you, what they also don't tell you is that 9 times out of 10, the bitches that they like don't like them. They didn't tell you that. See, they sit here and tell you about all the W's they took. They don't tell you that they took many more L's than W. They don't tell you that when they went after this studious or industrious woman, or when they went after this corporate woman swerved. The woman that was worth a damn didn't want anything to do with them. They didn't tell y'all that. You were never told that the girl that he wanted to have a relationship with told him, no, you just good for fucking. You got to stay where you at. The girl who only wanted to sleep with him would never take him as a husband. And that's the very woman that he wants to lay up with. That's the very woman that he want to cuff. That's the very woman that he wants to marry, is the one that's swerving him. It's not the woman that he's dominating sexually. It's not the woman that he's doing all this nasty shit with. It's the woman that's telling him no. It's the woman that's turning him down. But they ain't telling y'all that. The woman in there telling you guys that they got all the answers forever and ever, amen, to dating, sex, and relationships. And that's just simply not true. And so what they've done is they've created this sense of inferiority and this sense of envy in the so-called non-select dudes, which are the real movers and shakers in society, which are the real men that build civilizations. They are the real men that build civilization. They are the real men that build families. They are the real men that build homes. They are the real men that build communities. And it's not the woman that he's dominating sexually. It's not the woman that he's doing all this nasty shit with. It's the woman that's telling him no. They've come along now and told you that they are an approximation of superior masculinity among men. And that just ain't true. What they don't tell you is that most of these niggas wind up with, off, and on bitches for the rest of their lives. They don't tell you that side of the story. They don't tell you how most of these niggas got to take up GoFundMe donations and PayPal donations to carry their scandalous, trifling ass to their final resting place. They don't tell you that. They don't tell you that in the later years of their life, you know what they're doing? They're living off of Social Security disability insurance. They don't tell you that either. They don't tell you that either. That's where their income comes from. In other words, in the final years of their lives, they live just like ratchets. They don't tell you about any of that. They just tell you about the women that they fucking. They don't tell you the long-term cost of that conduct when they get older. So you go all through life, quote unquote, being your own man just to end up being a bitch's roommate. And you're not even a 50-50 roommate. She's taking care of you. They don't tell y'all that part. Nobody bothers to have that discussion. They don't tell y'all the whole truth. And the reason they don't tell you the whole truth because they want to keep you buying their books. They want to keep you paying them $250 to $500 for consultations. They're trying to sell you their mastery so that you will keep paying them. They don't tell you the whole truth. They tell you half the truth. It's kind of like those damn Kirby vacuum cleaners. If anybody's in here has ever sold, and when they train you to sell them damn Kirby's, what they do is they bring you in and they got this goddamn vacuum cleaner that you roll over a pillow. They show you how to make the pillow flat, the little neat tricks where you make the pillow flat, and they show you how to vacuum with the little white little pad to where you suck up all the dirt and all of that shit. And so the purpose of that demonstration is to shame the person who you're going to sell this product, shame you. The purpose of that demonstration is to humiliate or browbeat you into accepting that product. Well, that's what a lot of these so-called relationship advisors do. The name of the game is to browbeat you into accepting their supremacy among men so that you'll buy their consultation. Amount for an email. You're going to pay a nigga to email you and tell you how to get a woman. I'm sorry, but to me, that is the most ridiculous thing in the world. To me personally, that shit is the most ridiculous thing in the world. They want you to pay them so they can tell you how to screw. And my position is, why not just pay the bitch and cut out the middleman? My personal opinion. I'm not a dating coach or relationship advisor or game advisor or anything like that. But my position is, why don't you just pay the hoe? Why do you have this middleman in the mix? And the first thing they'll come out and say is they'll say, well, tricking is illegal. Tricking is illegal. Tricking is illegal. Tricking is illegal. I don't like tricking. And the reason they say that, because if tricking becomes popular, any measure, any degree, their ass will be unemployed tomorrow. They'll be broke tomorrow. If dudes start saying, well, why do I need you? All I need is a little bit of conversation, a little bit of common sense, and a little bit of cash. Why would I give you when I can go over here and give $75 to $125 and get total satisfaction? Why would I pay you that kind of money for short term just so you can tell me how to get short term like that? Why would I do something as stupid as that? They know that if tricking, and let's be honest here. When I say tricking, let me be honest with what I'm talking about when I'm talking about tricking. When I'm talking about tricking, what I mean is this: nobody's out there on the track looking for hoes anymore because the track is digital now. That's what OnlyFans is. OnlyFans is the digital hoe track. Instagram is the digital hoe track. Backpage, until it got shut down, was the digital track. But more importantly, what I meant was, what I meant was when I made that statement, when I was talking about that, here's what I was saying. I was talking about the situation where these guys, these so-called non-select guys, have these women in their on their periphery or have these women in their circle that are exploiting them, that are exploiting their lack of ability to understand when they're being thoroughly disrespected, but women are constantly trying to get shit. So what I said to that guy was strike up an agreement. Strike up an agreement. Don't let somebody use you for your money, for your time, and for your attention, and you get nothing out of it. By tricking, I didn't mean go out there on the track and find some crackhead. I didn't mean going out there finding some grimy gutter bitch. That was not what I meant, and that was not uh, my direction when we started. When me and Big Mike started talking about tricking, that is not what we were saying. We were talking about women that were already on our periphery, women that we were already dealing with. Now, some people kick rocks. Okay, well, that's what you should do. Leave them alone. I mean, if you really want to win, tell them to kick rocks. But I know most of you are not going to do that. I know most of you are not going to tell them to kick rocks. I know most of you don't have the will to tell them to beat the block. That's the only reason that I said that. That was the only reason behind I got 75 because it was a way to keep you from being played while at the same time preserving your dignity and your self respect. It was a way to get you a W. That's all it was. That's all it was. Instead of just paying these guys God knows how much amount of money to teach you what to say and how to act on a date when they're not going to be present with a woman they've never met in a situation that they 9 times out of 10 don't even understand. That's what it was about. That's what that was about. That's what I was saying. You see, these guys, again, these guys have been lying to y'all. Oh, I won't say they've been lying. They haven't told y'all the whole truth. Nobody here has told y'all the whole truth. Nobody here tells you the whole skinny. But I'm going to tell you the competent man's advantage is in his responsibility. The competent man's advantage is the fact that he is reliable. The competent man's advantage is the fact that he has good character. Now, is good character going to appeal to women in a short term sexual environment? No, it's not. It's not. Your game is not the short term game. Your game is the long term game. You are the marathon runner. You're not the sprinter. A lot of these niggas that fancy themselves are womanizers, they're shout winded, as we say down south. They shout winded. They can't carry the weight. They can't keep the pace. They don't finish the race. That's why you never try to compete with them on their terms. You can't compete with them as far as visceral sexual attraction. You heard me the non select nigga tax. You never hear me talk about the select nigga tax because they pay a tax too. They don't get a tax exemption, they just get a tax deferment. They pay at the end of the situation, they pay at the end of their lives. You know, when nobody wants to be bothered with them anymore. 35 years goes in one end out the other. When they go find a broad that's younger than them, and that broad that's younger than them skip out with them to go fuck around with a nigga that's her age that can actually keep up with her. All the trouble and all the expense, all the trouble and all the expense that they put on people to take care of them later in their lives. I got a family full of these people, so I can tell y'all that they're conning you so that they can keep you, so that they can keep charging your credit card, so that they can keep giving you a tax deduction for some shit that may or may not even apply to you. There is no reason, there is no reason for you to think that these guys have something that you don't. Everybody has a specific set of advantages. Yes, these guys may be strikingly physically appealing or strikingly after a while. So you hear them talking against marriage, when you hear them talking against institutions of family building, you put that shit where it belongs. That's blibbly. Let that go right on out the window.